Good morning, everybody. We had a lot of data this morning, so let me cover that really quickly and then we'll get started here. All right, so we had the final GDP 3.8% over 3.3. Unemployment 218 over 233. What else did we have today? Core durable goods 0.4 over negative 0.1. Durable goods 2.9%, a little bit high. Final GDP 2.1% over 2%. And that is pretty much it. We have a little bit more data coming out at 10 o'clock. We have the existing home sales, and then we have a bunch of Fed talks kind of scattered throughout the day. So watch out for that stuff. Our trade plan from last night is kind of already played out, so we will have to update our levels here. We are seeing a continuation of that sell pressure. They are holding below the daily lows. They're holding below the weekly open. So our daily, as we can see here, for basically the first time in September, we were able to hold below that prior daily low, and we are already losing yesterday's low. So continuing that pullback here, and this is most likely what we were talking about. I talked about how when you fill in this rollover gap with a wick, not with a body, it is very likely going to get retested, and this is possibly that retest. We are already trading inside that gap again. So that gap goes back down. Let's actually mark that gap out. I think I already have it marked out. Let me see. Yeah, I do. Okay. So let's keep an eye on that gap again. That gap goes down to 16. That could be a possible level for the retest. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some levels here. We just finished retracing a very old day, going back to that FOMC day. We'll keep the low there. Let's get rid of the high. And that should be fine. Let's go ahead and update our trade plan. So at this point, we will say holding above 78. We're going to look for, what's that daily high? That daily high is 705. And then 13. And then we'll say holding below 654. We are going to look for 21, and then that gap fill, which is 16. The day shape would be either a lowercase b or a capital B. Either way, they would be bearish bias. All right, sorry, just updating the levels really quick. So right now, as long as we hold below that prior value low, we're just going to keep looking for that sell pressure to push us down into that gap. And hopefully this time we have a proper fill-in of that gap. Okay, NASDAQ levels. Do we need to update these? Let's see here. Yes, we have played out pretty much entirely. Our lower target was 524, which is pretty much being hit. So we will have to change these. Let's go ahead and say holding above 632. We're going to look for that daily high. That daily high is about 800. And then we have 833, which is the value retrace. So then holding below 524, we are going to look for 403 and the gap fill, which is 296. Okay, so maintaining a bearish bias, looking for that lower gap until we reclaim the prior day's value. Let me post the trade plan on YouTube for you guys. Okay, right out of the gate, the large tape is actually pretty green. I was going to say it was red, but these are old orders. These are about an hour ago from the data coming in. So large tape is actually fairly green, but the normal tape is very red. A lot of sell orders coming in at 54 and 53, possibly a small wall there that got taken out. Good morning, everybody. Want to backpack in future? Marcel. Here's the trade plan for everybody. Good morning, Leo, Michael, Orion, Igor, Mike, Jose, Michael, Lulu, Roman, Victoria. Good morning, Morris, Adriana, Adam, Larry, Blood, Trevor, Vivian, Patriot, Lubomir, Angelo. Sell pressure still continuing here. Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, Faraj, 2013, C-Mac, Darius, Chuck, Fernando, eBay, Ordinary. Good morning, Chuck, Tamer, Banana, Roger, Carnation, Liquidated, and Slash. Good morning, everybody. That bearish delta is kind of being absorbed here. Like I said, possibly a buy wall that got taken out. A lot of responsive buyers around that 50 to 55, turning into a 30-minute sweep for now. Keep an eye on a potential overnight fade. If the buy pressure in the morning is very aggressive, they could go against this extremely one-directional overnight profile. There's not really a lot of obvious point of origin levels because we've just been trending so aggressively. Yeah, that is pretty much it. There's not really a lot of levels we can grab here. Very one-directional. Good morning, A. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Key Toy. to see you guys. Yeah, TradingView has been pretty damn abysmal on the opens. Their servers are just overloaded, which goes to show me that they're probably pretty far from getting that better data that we were talking about. Having that data that can do like order flow stuff. If their servers can't handle the regular data, they're not even close. Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm trying to click through my charts and they are just slow. Yeah, they don't have it, Keytoy. They don't have level 2 any. I was gonna say anymore, but they never have. They don't have level 2 or like delta data. And their regular data recently has been okay, like price-wise. Like their price is good. Like if you're looking at just the price. If you're looking at the indicators, it's just not loading. It takes forever. All right, bearish bias is still in effect here. Not seeing that overnight fade. Very strong sell pressure. Next level is 21 and then 16. Now, the volume profile is good, Keytoy, because the volume profile uses traded orders. It doesn't use level 2. The volume profile on TradingView is actually very good. It's the one that I trust the most. You're basically one time framing bearishly on the 30-minute, almost on the 15-minute. It's a little bit choppier on the 15-minute. Yeah, it's one of those days where it is very difficult to be a buyer. The trend is exceptionally one-directional. You can see pretty much every single 30-minute candle is breaking the prior candle's low. And they are not breaking the highs. Yeah, pretty much anything that uses like fancy data, like delta, footprint, um, block trades, all that stuff. Yeah, CVD is delta, so that one's not good as well. Like I said, if you don't have Addis or you don't have like an order flow platform, I wouldn't just like, oh, TradingView is good enough. It's not good enough because basically what it's telling you is just fake. It's just bullshit, right? It's misleading. There is no good enough. The data is incorrect. Pretty far from this ADMA, a little extended. See if we can bounce back to that. Getting a bit extended to the downside here. Very aggressive sell side. This is Addis, Keytoy. They're very similar to Ninja Trader, which you were probably used to watching me use back in the day. Very, very similar. I just think they have a slight edge. They're just a little bit better than NT. A little bit faster, a little bit more responsive. The UI is better. It feels like a modern Ninja Trader. NT still feels like a little bit outdated. All right, here comes that target. Target coming up at 21. And then 16. Not seeing any delta flips so far. So it seems like that first daily low being lost in September was definitely a key level. I mean, I've been preaching this since the gap. When you fill in gaps with a wick, they are very likely to be retested. And here is the retest. That fill-in is coming up very quickly at 21. I think it's technically 16. Yeah, it's like 16 or 17. Wicks that are, or sorry, gaps that are filled in with large wicks like that, they're just not they're not trustworthy fill-ins. Like you just don't really rely on that value. You want to see actual value fill those gaps in. Now that's something that a lot of traders will argue with me on, I should say. A lot of traders will say, no, it's filled in. But personally, I do not like the wicks filling it in because of this. I mean, we're quite literally seeing it. This is why I will always argue that the wick is, or the gap is not filled in with a wick. Because I keep seeing this pattern again and again and again over the years. The only hard part about this pattern is the timing. You basically know it's going to be retested. You just don't know when. So we had an afternoon break yesterday, but it repaired itself. So very healthy move here. Traded inside the morning value into the close. So we don't have really any reasons to go up here. We finished the single prints. We finished the afternoon breaks. We do have an afternoon break back from Tuesday. I wish I could show you, but the trading view is being ridiculous. There is an afternoon break at 7:37 on Tuesday. We did not have an afternoon break yesterday. I can't show you because TradingView is just abysmal recently. I don't know what the hell is going on with their company. Yeah, Keith, you can try out Addis, man. You might like it. If you liked NT, you'll like Addis. They're just a little bit different. We are already down almost 20 points, actually even more than that. Where'd we open up? Yeah, we're down almost 30 points from the open. There's a decent amount of data coming out this week, so you could just say that the data is being perceived bearishly. A lot of data came out today, very big data coming out tomorrow as well. I think this is a very technical move. The gap fill needs to be filled in again, and we had our first daily loss of a low in September. The entire month of September, we just lost our first low yesterday. So it's a little bit of both, a little bit technical, a little bit of data. I wouldn't fall into this trap, and I've gone into this rant many times. I'm not going to go into the whole rant today. But I wouldn't fall into this trap of, like, constantly searching for a reason of why something did what it did. Trying to figure out why the big boys are buying or why the big boys are selling. Why are they taking the data the way they're taking it? I've learned over the years that it's just all bullshit, right? It is very difficult to build like a consistent system on how the data comes out and how the big boys are trading the data. You're better off just looking for technicals. We care what the market is telling us, not what the data is telling us. I don't care if the data is bullish or bearish. I care if the market thinks it's bullish or bearish. Bear flagging to VWAP? Possibly. This is a pretty, this would be an unusual move for a bear flag in a VWAP. They're all making up their own reasons as well. Exactly, yeah. I feel like every trader, you can find something. You can find a headline, you can find a technical, you can find a line, you could find an indicator, whatever. You could find something to fit your narrative. What would that be? That would be like confirmation bias or whatever they call it. You can find something to fit your narrative. That's just what trading is. There's a million things we look at. The thing is, can you do it consistently? Can you find it every single time? Is it the same thing every time? I use 70% for my volume profiles. I never used like 68. I always, ever since the beginning, I just used 70. Yeah, hopefully when it fills in the gap this time, it leaves the body in the gap, at least most of the way. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'd say like at least half or more. You want to leave the body in the gap. If you check CNBC for headlines, you might as well check your astrology chart. Yeah, it's like I said, you can find something to fit your narrative. Here's the bounce back into VWAP and the 24, possibly a bear flag. The session VWAP is very far away, so if they go for the session VWAP, this bear flag is going to fail pretty much immediately. We did finally have a bullish delta flip. We've had bearish delta pretty much the entire way down, and now we finally have some consistent bullish delta coming in. We'll see if they can find any delta above VWAP, which would be around 44. Good morning, Joan. Good morning, Josh. Appreciate you guys being here. Keep wanting to say Monday. Today is definitely not Monday. Today is a Thursday. Today feels like a Monday for some reason. And there's the break of the VWAP. That's what I was talking about that being a very weird bear flag in the VWAP. If you go for that session VWAP, it's going to break immediately, which it did. Let's see if it sweeps it. If it doesn't sweep it, then that has failed. It's also dangerous because that VWAP is brand new. It's only about 20 minutes old. Keep an eye on this very strong bearish cluster from the open. Very strong bearish cluster from 51 to 55. Keep an eye on that. A little bit of a V reversal here. Why is that an unusual move for a bear flag in VWAP? It's too strong delta-wise. It's kind of a V reversal. The VWAP is too new, and the session VWAP is too far away. Those are all variables that make it a worse trade. That block trade's helping. That's 1,500 contracts on the sell side. Basically right above VWAP, trying to slap it back down. Yeah, it did actually. Good catch on that. Existing home sales coming out early. That's very weird. 4 million over 3.96. So that's our second data point in a row for a very strong housing report. Not sure why that came out early. Somebody's like in a long and they're desperately trying to save it and they just throw the data out there. Somebody needed a good entry, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember a time that I've seen that happen on existing home sales. I've seen other data prints do that, but home sales, that's kind of weird. Now that is manipulation, yeah. Well, funny thing is that block trade came in when that data got released early, so there you go. If you want to make that argument, the chart literally shows you that, right, with the block trade. Well, the data is good for the dollar, which is not good for the market. The dollar correlation, for the most part, is inverse. So housing data being much better than expected is better for the dollar. The dollar goes up, which makes equities go down. Which it is. The dollar is going up right now. What do you mean, Hugh? You didn't say what you're comparing it to. Do you mean ES and NASDAQ? You can't really determine which one is stronger until you see it play out a little bit. Like, you got to let the price play out a little bit, and you have to see which one is pushing the trend first. Which one is making higher highs or lower lows first. Which one is doing something and then the other one is following after. Like, some days NASDAQ will just be nuking and ES will be kind of flat, and then ES will start nuking. Then that's pretty obvious. You can say NASDAQ is leading. But yeah, we have to see some type of event that shows us which one is leading. There's no way to, like, just kind of predict it. I'd say more often than not, NASDAQ is leading just because NASDAQ is typically the stronger companies. You still in your ETH trade? So I was saying before that if it lost 4,300, that is basically where that trade is going to start coming off. So that's what I'll say. ETH is starting to look pretty bad. The daily trail is flipping red. You're going into a bearish pinch on the daily. I think our cycle may have come to an end. It's really hard to say. Because typically, when the cycle comes to an end, it's very obvious. This one is not super obvious. Want a Churchill? Good morning, JC. Good morning, who else did I just see? Josh. Yeah, the opening sell pressure was obviously the best entry, just going with the overnight pressure. A little scary to trade at the open, though. Other than that, you didn't really have a playbook entry. You could have taken that bear flag in a VWAP, but you would have taken some drawdown. And that was a pretty weird bear flag in a VWAP because of the momentum going into it and the fact that it was a fairly new VWAP. So yeah, there's not really any like textbook playbook setups right now. You had that bearish cluster nearly get retested. That wasn't too bad. But yeah, right now we just have a continuation of the overnight, basically. The overnight is very one-directional, which is a continuation of the prior day. And then now we're just continuing the overnight. Possibly a bulldog. It's a little scary to be a buyer in this market, but possibly a bulldog. The gap fill to find... Here's that chart that wouldn't load earlier. So there's that afternoon break I was talking about. We did not have one yesterday. To find the absolute gap, you would have to go to... What is that? Monday the 15th. So go to the 1 minute. Go to the 15th. Or not. Go to the 15th. It won't load the 15th anymore, so I can't look at the 15th. It's too late. So normally you'd want to go to the 1 minute on the gap day to find the exact level. But we can kind of just guess it's somewhere inside this candle. Addis would probably load that far back. How many days back? What's today? Today is the 25th. Look at how fast Addis loads compared to TradingView. Instantly loaded all of these days. So it looks like... Going back to 88. Why is it going back to 88? Let me take a look at that other contract. What was the last contract? It was the U contract, I believe. I don't think TradingView will have it. Yeah, TradingView took it off. Let me see if it will pull it up. Yeah, it took it off. So I can't show it on TradingView. That's annoying. They used to have them on TradingView. When they expired, they used to still have them. I'll take a look at it here in a second. On Addis. Keep a close eye on this backtest of VWAP and the backtest of this bearish Delta cluster. Basically the same level. 52 to 57. Why are you timesing it by 100, John? I don't get that. Keep an eye on VWAP here. Now, this is also not a great bear flag into VWAP because it is so strong into VWAP. We like those slower moves into VWAP. This is pretty damn aggressive. Now, it is a strong VWAP trend-wise. The trend is very, very strong. Seems to be holding for now. Let's see. Let's actually zoom in. Let's see how much bearish delta we're getting here. You never really put in the head of the bulldog. This is still the neck. So if we fail VWAP here, you're going to have conflicting signals. You're going to have the bear flag and the VWAP turning into a bulldog. Now that would be a bulldog, a bad variation, the bad variation which is hitting VWAP, right? So far, not holding any bullish delta above VWAP. Let's see if, I think Addis has the old contracts, don't they? Oh, I didn't want to change all my charts. Let's see here. Yeah, so the gap that I have is proper. So the close of the U contract is 16, the same level that we had marked out on the gap. So the difference in the gaps would be the difference in the gaps would be when you determine the gap is created. So what day you determine is the rollover day. And that will change what level the gap is at. The day that TradingView is using is the Monday, which is usually what I use, because that is 1 week before expiration. You want to Sam? You want to Victor? Not seeing a ton of bearish delta here on VWAP. Now, recently, NASDAQ VWAP has been disgustingly accurate. We'll see if they can maintain VWAP here. They have been failing VWAP almost to the point many times this week. There is a wall here. Yep, look at that. There's a massive wall here. Massive wall here, still going. Look at that. 666. Gotta love that. How many contracts was that? Nearly 4,000 contracts. If you factor in Delta, probably over 4,000 contracts. And yeah, it seems like this is the bad variation of that bear flag into VWAP because you're just too damn strong into VWAP. It's turning more into an overnight fade. So now right here, we are testing our overnight session. So this would be our overnight low. I believe, let me double check. Yeah, that's our overnight low. And then overnight high is way up here. Well, this wall you couldn't really scalp. That happened way too fast. But normally when we had a lot of walls happening, I think it was like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we were trading these walls pretty aggressively. The theory back then was you would hit the wall a little bit and it would not break. And then it would come down for maybe 3 to 5 points, maybe a little bit more. And then it would come back and break the wall. So once you saw it testing that wall and not breaking, you could put a stop like literally right above the wall. The problem is you're going to get slippage when the wall breaks. So you're probably going to lose like maybe a couple of points, 1 or 2 points. And then you're just looking for it to push away from that wall. The other theory that we had, it's kind of happening right now, is instead of doing that, if you're scared the wall's going to break, you just trade it like a normal sweep. So you can break the wall, grab that liquidity above the wall, and then sweep back down. Yeah, this one happened very quickly. So this white number here, that's how many seconds or minutes it was trading. This didn't even trade a second. That was 3, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. So this entire wall here traded a total of 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. So you had, realistically, if you factor in actually computing that in your head, you probably had like 2 or 3 seconds to trade that. Good luck. Okay, as long as we stay above that overnight low, it is becoming an overnight fade. Realistically, you had no chance. Yeah, pretty much. So we're fading the overnight. We're going against the overnight. Fading is just a fancy word for like going against the trend, right? So we are overnight fading back to the overnight high as long as they can stay above that 53. This is a pretty late overnight fade. If you guys watch my overnight fade playbook video, I talk about typically you want these trades to happen in the first like 30 to 45 minutes. This happened after like an hour. So it's a little bit late. Yeah, then you factor in like latency. Yeah. Like Tamer said, realistically, you had no chance to trade that. Way too fast. The walls that we used to trade a couple of years ago, they were very slow walls. They would take like 3 to 5, sometimes 10 minutes to play out. So you had plenty of time to trade them. I believe we're back above. No, not yet. I was going to say we're back above yesterday's low. We are not. That is over here. I'll just say morning low. Yep, this chart is unusable today. We are moving way too much. Yeah, this would be what we call like a giraffe. A giraffe is when you have it's such a strong impulse that it doesn't give you that pullback. It doesn't give you the head. Isn't a green wall supposed to be followed up by an upward move? Not always, no. Technically, that is a sell wall. You're seeing green because people are buying into it. So that's the hard part about trading is you have that whole argument of like a zero-sum game, right? Where yes, there was buy pressure there, but there were sellers there. The buyers have nothing to buy if there's nobody selling. So who do you trust? Do you trust the large seller or do you trust all the buyers that are buying into them? Now, typically, I like to go with the aggressive side. So in this case, the aggressive side are the buyers. They're the ones that are pushing the market. But you can't always go that way. You have to wait and see, right? That's why we always wait and see for like sweeps. I talk about it in my block trade video. You trade walls the same way you trade block trades. It doesn't matter what color they're coming in. You need to see who is actually determining which way the market goes, who is pushing the market. And right now, it seems the aggressive buyers are pushing the market because they are protecting that wall. You tried to sweep it, and then it bought up rapidly. So the first protection move we had of this wall was bullish. If it was bearish, it would have lost the wall and then tried to retest it and then sold. It's not doing that. So the buyers are in control here. It's all about who's controlling it, not what color it is. You treat block trades the same exact way. So like this big block trade here, initially it was bearish, but then it got taken over. So now it's being protected bullishly. This same block trade here, look at this bearish block trade. So if you're just blindly trading that, you would have lost immediately. Well, we don't know just yet, but it's already underwater. We don't know who's protecting that block trade just yet. It's the same idea with people who like to watch the options flow. They watch unusual whales. They watch cheddar flow. All that stuff. They see all these big options coming in. Just because you see a massive option buy doesn't mean that it's bullish, right? You have to see who's protecting that position. Could have been a position closing. Could have been a hedging position. And now we're getting into the rant of why I don't give a shit about all the reasons why this stuff is happening. Because you can make an argument for damn near every single side. It's all confirmation bias. What's the best order flow tool method in your opinion? If I had to pick one, if you asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said cumulative delta. This indicator down here. A couple of years ago, this indicator was like damn near 100%. Like when you had bear divs and bull divs on this indicator, you could trade them like without a doubt. You actually had one down here. Now that I look at it, you could trade them without a doubt. Like they had a very high strike rate. Nowadays, it's a bit more manipulated. It's a bit more pushed around. So nowadays, if I had to pick one tool, it would probably be like the delta footprint. If you're talking about order flow. If you're getting into the nitty gritty of order flow, like getting into the actual order flow, then you would obviously need something like a tape. You would need to watch how the orders are flowing in, right? That's also another spiral that you don't want to go down. Here's that point of origin coming up at 72. Keep an eye on that. Yesterday's low is 78. But that other path you don't want to go down in trading is constantly trying to find like the best. What's the best indicator? What's the best order flow tool? What's the best time frame? It all comes down to personal preference. What works for you? I teach you guys what I like to do, what indicators I use, what methods I like. That doesn't mean that it's the only way that you can trade. You gotta find what works for you. By the way, this is extremely aggressive. Holding above the ADMA every single candle, not reacting to VWAP, not reacting to the overnight low. It is very bullish. I'm not sure what your question is, Ian. Are you talking about like data or the workspace? What are you asking? Apex, if you want level 2 data on Apex, I think it's like $10 more or like $12 or something like that. $15, somewhere around there. We are still in an overnight fade. As long as we stay below the overnight low and the buy pressure continues, we are fading the overnight. We are going against the overnight. And basically, when you're going against the overnight, as I talk about in that playbook video, you want to look for the LVNs. So today, the LVNs are basically just the tail. The upper tail is just one big LVN. So we're just looking for these LVN levels to be retested. Another big block trade. What was that? Nearly 2,000 contracts at 70. Well, obviously, I would recommend Addis. That's who I'm currently using. You just missed their promotion. They were doing a big promotion with their new pricing. But you can still get a 30-day trial if you sign up using the link below to send me an email, and I'll get you a 30-day trial. Pay close attention to this 30-minute close, closing in about 3 minutes. We might create single prints going down to 63. They are trying to repair it. They're repairing about half the candle. Or half the tail, I should say. But yeah, I know all these things are expensive, like data, prop firms, workspace, whatever, paying for indicators, Discord, whatever it is. There's a lot of fees that go into trading. And I understand like wanting to save as much money as possible, but I've gone on this rant many times before. If you guys are hurting on cash, trading is not something you guys should be focusing on, man. Trading is not something that is going to take you from having no capital to building a massive amount of capital, right? Trading is best when you're comfortable in kind of what your life is, like your bills, your job, whatever. You're comfortable, and you have a little bit of capital to play with. You can have that capital kind of work for you exponentially. But if you're in a place where you're struggling, trading it's going to be rough. You're not in the right mindset. It almost becomes like gambling at that point. You can spiral very quickly out of control and lose a lot of money. And you already don't have a lot of money. So like losing a lot of money when you don't have a lot, that's not good, right? So if you guys are hurting on cash, I would not be focusing on trading right now. Work on getting all your stuff situated and then start playing around with trading. Trading is an expensive career, hobby, job, whatever you want to call it. It's expensive. You got to have money to play in this world. And money is relative, right? So I don't mean you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just mean you have to be comfortable to play in this world. It's why I don't cater to that audience. I don't cater to that audience that wants to get rich quick, because it's a very easy way to screw up a lot of people's lives. They are repairing that 30-minute candle. They have less than 1 minute remaining. They want to close below 64 to not create single prints. But yeah, if you guys are new here, you're not gonna get shit sugar coated to you on this channel. So if you don't like hearing stuff like that, like what I was just talking about, this channel's probably not for you. Because I'm gonna be brutally honest with you pretty much every day. So the sad fact is, if you're hurting on cash, trading is just not really something you want to focus on. We created one single print here, one single print down to 63. VSA? What's VSA? Talking about like volume analysis? It's not like that fatal. Like, I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody. I'm not trying to call you guys poor or anything. I'm just saying that you don't want to be doing stuff like this if you're hurting on cash. It's like going to the casino, and I don't like making the comparison a lot with like trading and gambling. It's not exactly gambling, but the problem is trading is not gambling when it's done properly. And I think a lot of people they misuse trading, so it is like gambling. They treat it like gambling. So it is almost the same thing of like hurting on cash, and then you get your paycheck and you go to the casino and you put it all on red. Trading is not gambling if done properly. But most people will definitely use it like it is gambling, like it is a casino. The quickest way to poverty for people in that mindset. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, volume spread analysis. Yeah, yeah. What was your question? Should be volume spike analysis. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really do volume spread analysis. I do like volume profile stuff, which is not really the same thing. So I can't really give you an educated answer on VSA. Well, I think volume spread analysis is mostly a term that's used in like Forex, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of Forex strategies do stuff like that. Possible rollover top here, putting in a lower high. Keep an eye on that 24 EMA. If it ignores the rollover top, if it ignores the 24 EMA, then it is going into a vertical distribution. So if we don't see a breakdown of this 24 into VWAP, you will be back into a vertical distribution, everybody's favorite pattern. I have trauma when I hear you say vertical distribution. Yep. Unfortunately, that's the case for many people. If you're just tuning in, I'll give you like a snapshot of what's going on. We started out very bearish. We were holding below yesterday's low. Obviously, started shooting down on the open. Put in a double bottom, and then we've just been bullish ever since. Once it reclaimed the overnight low at 53, you're going into an overnight fade. You're trying to trade against the overnight, possibly going back to the 700s, like 700, 705. But right now we are stalling out. So that overnight fade is currently stalling. You're putting in a rollover top. So if it fails the 24 EMA, should go back down to VWAP, possibly back down to the lows. But if it does not fail this 24 and it ignores the rollover top, you're going into a vertical distribution, which means it's trending up, but it's doing it in a choppy way. Call it vertical trauma, yeah. Yeah, I can't really help you with that regard. I can tell you like basically what order flow is, but I can't really compare and contrast volume spread analysis. Like I said, it's more of a forex thing. That's more of like a CVD thing, or sorry, CFD. Um, it's not really a future term that's used very widely. All of my tools that I'm using that you guys watch on my stream fit into my strategy of looking for momentum shifts, right? So delta footprints, tapes, volume profile, I mean, you name it. So I'm using order flow to see where the delta is flipping, where the orders are flipping, where the strong sell pressure is turning to strong buy pressure, and vice versa. So that's what I'm doing. That's like my strategy. So yeah, that's how I'm using the tools. But you can use these tools for many different things. So you just got to find what works. I'd have to raise the delta today. These candles are damn near like less than 1 minute candles. I have an order flow playlist. I highly recommend that. So check out my playlist. I've got a 3 to 4 part series, and then there's another 3-part series after that that was on an older platform. Same topics, but different platform. So I would recommend that. I don't really know of any other order flow content on YouTube. You just have to find it. And I don't really read order flow books, so I can't help you on that. No, most of my trading is done through Trade-of-8. I don't trade a lot on this account. This account is usually just for data. It's mainly just a habit because my main account is on Trade-of-8, so I want my Apex accounts to be on Trade-of-8. And I use an iPad as like a workstation, as like a trading terminal. And Trade-of-8 runs really good on the iPad. Looks like we're turning into that vertical distribution, everybody's favorite pattern here. We are ignoring the rollover top and putting in a support on that 24 EMA. I just got an email. Apex is extending that 80% off sale. It's going until the end of the month, September 30th. Lifetime activation fees are down to $85 on all sizes. The larger accounts, the 250s, 300s, and 150s, are priced at the lower price, basically the same as the lower accounts. Oh yeah, I usually don't do that, but I haven't done it recently. So for all my new viewers in here, I'll just quickly give you guys a rundown of my layout. I know if you're coming in here fresh, it's probably ridiculous seeing everything on my screen. So these are two 1-minute charts, ES and NASDAQ. The teal line is the 8 EMA. The 24 EMA is the orange line. The dotted line here is the session VWAP, the one that starts the prior day. The solid line here is the regular VWAP, the one that starts on the New York Open. The one on the bottom here is a cumulative volume delta. There is a 60 EMA, which equates to an hour because we're on a 1-minute chart. So that's a 1 hour average, just kind of looking at the trend. The other indicators I have, the circles are block trades, so just big orders. I think they're set to 300 right now. The horizontal boxes are delta imbalances, so when the delta is very heavy to one side. I think that is it for those charts. Yeah, that's it for those charts. This chart is kind of just the chart that I use to explain things. It's just kind of a naked chart that I draw levels on. So yeah, nothing fancy about that one. Sometimes I have the delta candles on, so they're colored based on the delta, not based on the actual candle. That's usually pretty much it. Just a naked chart that I use to explain. This chart, this is one I play with a lot. So normally it's a 30-minute footprint. So normally it's a 30-minute chart that has delta on the left and then volume on the right. The volume is colored based on delta. So if there's more bullish delta, it will color the volume bar green, and then red for bearish. By the way, keep an eye on the 24. We are losing it here. The little boxes are just clusters, so those are like large amounts of delta. The diamonds are block trades. That is pretty much it. The candles are colored based on direction, so if it's purple, that means it's breaking the low. If it's yellow, it's breaking the high. If it's teal, which we don't really have one right now, it is breaking both. This chart is a 500 delta chart. So they only form bars once there has been 500 delta in one direction. So either bullish delta or bearish delta. Not a cumulative. It's not total. It's one directional delta. And that is pretty much it for that chart. This is just a normal tape filtered for 25 contracts. This is a large tape filtered by 100 contracts. This is a NASDAQ tape filtered for 10 contracts. This is a DOM, which is not really being used as a DOM. Typically, DOMs are used for level 2. I don't read level 2, so I'm only using it for level 1. It has a today profile on the left and a weekly profile on the right. And then finally, this is my market profile chart. Market profile has TPOs and then a volume profile on the right. And if you guys don't understand any of that shit I just said, then you gotta watch the series. I got many playlists that cover all that stuff. Only day trading, Kito. I don't swing trade anymore unless it's like very specific patterns. Like we swing traded Intel, we swing traded American Eagle, Rivian, stuff like that. Um, we look for like a very specific pattern to swing trade. Other than that, basically day trading futures. I don't hold anything overnight. I'm still doing the same crypto stuff I was doing back when you watched way back in the day. So I'm doing the cycle trading where I'm just like adding on when it goes down a shit ton, and then I'm just letting it go as it goes back to all-time high. Right now, we're kind of at the end of the cycle. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are kind of coming to the end of that cycle. So we might be entering that down phase pretty soon. Hey, Tarnation, have a good day. Good morning, Lucio. Yeah, see, Mac, go to your dashboard. It should be called like time zone or time or something like that. It's on your dashboard, though. It's not on the charts. We are still in a vertical distribution. It is failing to break the 24 every time. If you guys are enjoying the stream, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you guys are new here, I do stream Monday through Friday. Typically start around like 9:15 in the morning, which is 15 minutes before the New York Open. We will be starting our series next week. I believe it's next week. Let me double check. Pretty sure. Yeah, next week. So we're going to be starting our new series next week. Every Wednesday, we will be releasing a video, and then every Monday after, which we talked about yesterday, we were trying to figure out if you guys would rather have the Q&A on Friday, would you rather do it on Monday? And it seemed like most of you guys wanted Monday. So we're going to release the videos on Wednesday, and then the Monday after, we're going to do a Q&A live stream to go over the video. And we're going to do that for 5 weeks. We're going to have a bunch of giveaways during the video and the live streams. We'll be doing Apex giveaways. We're going to be giving away a laptop, Discord giveaways, all kinds of stuff. The series is going to be on basically the path that I think people should be learning the stuff that I teach. I always get this question in Discord when people join the Discord because it's kind of overwhelming. I've been putting out content for, 7 years now? 7, 8 years almost, coming up on 8 years. So people always ask, like, what's the path on how I should learn this stuff? So that's what the series is going to be on. The series is going to be on, you should learn this, and then learn this, and then learn this. And then after that, we'll possibly do another series on, like, the psychological side as well. Yeah, that's going to start next Wednesday. We're going to do it for every week in October. We'll still be doing the normal streams, by the way. This is just on top of it. No, I'm just not commentating. I don't like commentating these vertical distributions too much because people just get confused because it's a very confusing pattern. So this is one of those times where even if you did take this bearishly and you were looking for this to be like a rollover top or a bear div or whatever, you typically would target VWAP, you typically would target the prior low. And as I'm saying this, I'm actually kind of correcting myself. I was going to say it's not really worth it because VWAP is so close, but the volatility is so damn high today. That is actually still a 10-point move. But normally when VWAP is that close to your vertical distribution, telling yourself that the short is even worth it, you're kind of lying to yourself, right? It's only a couple points away. It's not really a great trade. You're risking way more than you're going to make usually. You're going to lose that trade like 3 or 4 times just to make that one win. Now, like I said, this one's kind of an exception because the volatility is so high that is like a 10-point move. But yeah, typically you do not want to take a short on a vertical distribution when VWAP is that close. It doesn't make sense for your risk to reward is basically what I'm saying. Yeah, Chris, that's like the thing that we were talking about recently with the whole perma bear thing. I don't want to piss the perma bears off in chat again. We're not going to rant about it. But it's exactly what I was just talking about how the bears need a narrative. The bears always need a reason. They need some kind of narrative to keep pushing the market down. And it seems the narrative that is being pushed right now is the drones being flown into NATO airspace and possibly starting World War III. And I mean, we've been through this World War III headline for years now, and it's like, holy shit, when is it going to end? And yes, I won't argue that it's definitely escalating. Like it keeps escalating, and it keeps escalating, and it keeps escalating. But how long have they been pushing this like World War III narrative? And it's just, I don't know. It's tiring. It's tiring that it's the same narrative over and over and over again. Could you say a perma bear is an afraid person? Perma bull is a greedy one? Kind of, yeah. Like a perma bull would be like just like overly optimistic. Like no matter what they see, they're just like, I don't care how bad it is. Like the world could be burning down, but they're still like, buy, buy, buy. It's going to go up. And then perma bear is the other way around, where it's like, doesn't matter how much the market is exploding and how much money is flooding into the market, and every single day you're making new highs, but they're sell, sell, sell. I wouldn't be a perma trader on either side, but as I always talk about, you're better off being a perma bull than a perma bear, because the market just wants to go up. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP at 53. We're finally seeing a vertical distribution that actually comes to an end, instead of going on for hours and hours. So keep an eye on these EMAs. EMAs pushing you down. If they can stay below VWAP, the vertical distribution always targets VWAP and then the prior low. So there would be VWAP and then prior low, obviously down here. Isn't it empirical data, not emotional? Do you mean like, in what sense? Like it's empirical data, the fact that it is escalating? I'm not arguing that it's escalating or that it's not escalating. It 100% is escalating. But nothing is really... Right now, it would be more predictive than responsive, is what I'm saying. So like if you're taking a lot of trades based on those headlines, you basically think that World War III is just going to full-blown blow out. It's actually going to happen. You're being more predictive than responsive. That's my argument. Oh, I'm not saying it's conspiracy or anything like that. Like I said, I think people always misunderstand me when I'm going into these like little rants about the perma bear, perma bull stuff. I'm not saying their arguments are wrong. I am saying that the market is not reacting to the way that they are saying that it is. They are using this narrative to fit it, to pigeonhole it into the market and say like, oh, the market's doing XYZ because of XYZ. But it's not, is my argument. Yeah, Chris, and like I said, I agree with that. I agree that it is escalating. I don't know I would agree that the market is going down today and yesterday because of those headlines. But it could be. I could be wrong, right? I'm not always right. I'm not 100% right. I'm just giving you guys my opinions. It's my stream, right? You guys are just hearing my opinions, my thoughts. Doesn't mean I'm always right. I think the problem that I have, and by the way, keep an eye on VWAP here. If we lose this daily VWAP, next target is that prior low. And don't misunderstand me when I say prior low. I'm not just saying the low of day. I mean, you guys know me. I think of everything as a cluster. This is the prior low. This cluster of candles is the prior low. So you could target the top, you could target the bottom, you could target the middle. It doesn't matter. That is the prior low. Yeah, my problem I have streaming over the years is people don't understand the difference between subjective and objective, right? Like opinions and facts, right? And we'll get into like this big argument about something that either I am or like someone in chat is clearly objectively right. But somebody tries to use their opinions or their subjective way of looking at something, and they're trying to say that they're objectively right. And being an extremely logical person, like I try to think of everything like numbers, technicals, black and white, kind of, right? I try to look at everything objectively. That's why I get into these rants and I get into these arguments with people in chat. So far, holding VWAP. And then, once again, NASDAQ to the point. To the exact point. Holding VWAP. NASDAQ has been ridiculously accurate with VWAP recently. So going back, and this is the last thing I'll say, I don't want to rant on this anymore, but going back to what I was saying was, if, I guess there's no way to prove this, but I would say, like, if you really believe that those headlines are the sole reason or the main reason that the market is correcting, you'd have to provide, like, some kind of, like, evidence to that. Like, show me on a chart when that headline came out, that very first headline came out. Show me the 1 minute, the 5 minute order flow. Was it massively bearish or massively bullish when those headlines were coming out? Because that is objective, right? You can prove that. There's evidence to that. But I always have people come into my chat and they're like, oh, we're going down because of this headline. And I'm like, no, not really. That headline came out 30 minutes ago. And if we pull that up on a chart, the chart didn't even react to that headline. Like, today's a great example. Today, if we look at, where is it? Let's see if I can find it. I guess today's not a great example. I was going to say today's a good example of, like, the news came out at 8:30 and we started selling. We were already selling, so today's not really a good example. But you normally want to see how price reacts to those headlines coming out. So tomorrow will be a good example. Tomorrow we'll have PCE data. And you'll see the market react to that PCE data. That data is typically very high impact. Today, the GDP data hasn't been as high impact recently. So we can't really see it on a chart. It's not extremely obvious that we started selling off when that data came in. Now, what we could say, like objectively, I guess today would be a good example in this case, is where that block trade came in. Where was that block trade? That block trade was like 951 to 952, right here. And why did that happen? It's because they released the existing home sales data early, which is very weird. They, like, never do that. So you could make the argument that that movement was because of that headline. They released that data early. We can physically see it on the chart. Okay, now that we're back into an uptrend here, beautifully bouncing off of VWAP. This is a failure to rotate. They did not rotate back down to the value low. So keep an eye on the value high. Value high is around 72. Very important cluster here. We have to see how it reacts to this lower high. Is it going to put in a lower high here? Or can we actually build value above this high? Now, one thing that looks pretty bad is this could be a VWAP trap where we're bouncing aggressively off of VWAP. We don't really have the delta to bounce off of VWAP like this. Like, look at the delta and look at the price. The price is much more aggressive. So that's a bit worrying for the buyers. But yeah, long story short, like, if you guys ever make claims about, like, this is why the market is doing X, Y, Z, Just provide evidence to that, right? Like just say that like, oh, the headline came out at 8:30 and look at that spike at 8:30. Look at that order flow at 8:30 or whatever. That's the way I look at things. I look at things very technical. I want to see the reaction. I want to be responsive. I don't want to predict. It all comes down to the fact that I'm not a swing trader, right? So I don't really care about these like World War III type of headlines, because that's more of a swing trading problem. Now, obviously, outside of trading, I care, but we're talking about this in a trading sense. Yes, there is a divergence. That's what I was just talking about. There is a trap because we are pushing without the proper delta. Like a good example is going back to the invasion, which, how many years ago was that at this point? Was it 3 years? 3 years ago? 2 years ago? When they invaded Ukraine? You could see that on a chart. That is verifiable. You could see it on a chart immediately. COVID, I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what was the final straw. I think it was possibly the lockdown. I don't remember. But there was something that happened. There was like a final straw that kind of broke it. It might have been the lockdowns. Was it like the lockdowns being extended or something like that? I don't remember. Yeah, Keytoy, if you remember back in the day when you were watching, I think you were watching at this time, when I was using Quant Tower to like day trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I had basically my same layout that I have here, very similar layout. That's kind of what I'm doing with ES. Pretty much the same thing. And to go back to that point that I'm not trying to say that I'm always right and whatnot, I was wrong about that whole Russia thing. If you guys are watching my stream at the time, I was very wrong about that. I saw all those headlines coming out, and I was giving you guys this same argument about like, don't be predictive. Like, we'll wait and see what happens. And I didn't think it was going to pop off that quickly. And then it just happened. Like overnight, it was like, okay, they're actually invading now. And then the market reacted. Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that I was wrong because, once again, I'm not a swing trader. So it's not like that affected my trading. But yes, I was wrong about the timing on that. Because I'm always going to be wrong a little bit in that regard because I'm responsive. I respond to the news, I don't try to predict it. So I'm always going to be a little late. So I'm not the channel that you guys want to get your like predictions from. I'm not a predictive trader. I'm not going to tell you that we're going to 7,000 on ES. I'm going to take it day by day. But yeah, I was 100% wrong about the whole timing on the Russia-Ukraine thing. I remember the one headline that was kind of that started making me change my mind was that one headline that said they were shifting all their blood, like they had all the blood bags and all that stuff. They were shifting to the front lines, and that is almost always only done in immediate action. And then I think it was within 48 hours after that headline, they invaded. It's insane that we have access to that information. Like, it's actually just crazy to me how we can watch wars play out on a tweet by tweet basis. Like, it's just kind of nuts. We saw it happen with Israel and Iran as well. But yeah, it's just crazy to me that we can see that stuff play out. Like, how are we getting these headlines? How do we know that Russia is shifting their blood banks to their front lines? Like, that's actually crazy. That's real journalism, you know what I mean? Not all this fake bullshit journalism that we have in the US. That's a whole nother rant, though. We're not going to get into that. Putting in a lower high here on ES and NASDAQ, not confirming that return back to the value high. Yeah, like I said, I'm not the predictive guy, so you guys can make all the arguments you want about your predictions. I can't argue them too much because I'm not going to predict anything. I'm more responsive. Predictions are for the swing traders. I'm not a swing trader. Yeah, Keto, I think we were talking about like more so the exact event that was kind of the final straw. Because there's always like usually an event that you can say like, okay, that's what actually caused the market to go down. Like we were kind of ramping up to an explosion in COVID, like a down move. I just don't remember what the final like headline or the final reason that really started nuking it was. It was probably something to do with what the Fed did or whatever. Yeah, Gunk, that's always funny to me. Those questions are very similar to like the stupid Fed questions that we get. They're asking questions just to get points with their company or their fan base. They know the question is not going to be answered, right? It's purely political. Just a waste of everybody's time. Okay, so this is that VWAP trap. That bounce did not have the proper delta to maintain that move, I guess you would say. So now we are back below the 24, back below the ADMA, returning to VWAP. So they're basically like, okay, we didn't have the momentum the first time. We didn't have the delta the first time. Let's try again. So let's see if they get the delta this time around. If they don't, then you're downtrending. Lower highs, lower lows. Yeah, I don't think it's outlandish to like be taking puts here for the short term or possibly the next quarter or whatever. Because I mean, looking at September, September is never like this. September is never this bullish. It is historically a very bearish slash choppy month. So taking puts after a really good September kind of makes sense. You're like, okay, that probably shouldn't have happened. That's probably a bit of a trap. I can understand the argument 100%. Not seeing that secondary buy pressure here. We'll keep an eye on NASDAQ because NASDAQ has been respecting VWAP. So we know if it breaks VWAP here, that's pretty important. Next VWAP on NASDAQ would be 552. These 30-minute candles are just nasty. These are ridiculously wide 30-minute candles. The volatility is pretty damn high today. I mean, look at how wide these candles are. The B candle is a 34 low and a 74 high, a 40-point candle. The A candle is a 30 low and a 62 high, 30-point candle. The C candle wasn't too bad, only 10 points. What are you talking about, Jake? You talking about it being more responsive? Like the delta's coming in kind of counter? And there's the NASDAQ reaction to the point again. It's actually insane. And this is what I was talking about NASDAQ being more accurate with VWAP recently. Look at the reaction on ES. It's not bad, but they do break through it a little bit. Look at the reaction on NASDAQ to the literal point. The same time, or same thing that it did about, what was that, 20 minutes ago? We'll see if this buy pressure can actually hold. It shouldn't be, Nick. That's kind of a calculation issue on the whatever platform you're looking at. It's because when you lower the time frame, it has more points to calculate, like more closes, more data points, not points as in like points, data points. I mean, so as you lower the time frame, there's more data points for it to calculate. So therefore, it can move the price around a little bit. But overall, they're pretty much the same. They should be. If they're widely or wildly different, then that's a problem. That's like a calculation error. They should be relatively the same within a couple of points. But I like watching VWAP on the 1 minute because it seems to be the most accurate. I mean, as we can literally see right now, it's to the point. Not even to the point, it's to the tick. And this has been happening all week. This is not like a one-time occurrence. It hasn't been doing it every single time it tests VWAP. Like right here, it kind of ignored it. But it has been doing it quite often. NASDAQ has been so clean with VWAP. Yeah, search and destroy algos, they call them. It's when they're hunting both sides of the liquidity, the top and the bottom. And that is definitely what we are doing. There was this really old video, it's probably like 10 or 15 years old at this point, like very early YouTube days, that somebody posted a video and they were basically like a floor trader or something like that, or like a hedge fund trader or something. And they were showing internally how that search and destroy algorithm worked, and it was on Dow Jones, and it was pretty disgusting. It was just perfectly hunting the stop losses on both sides of the range. Yeah, but it doesn't, like, when I'm talking about like hunting and stuff like that, search and destroy algos, they're not just hunting retail traders. You gotta, I don't know why people think like this. People think that like all smart money are on a team, and then all retail are on a team, and the smart money are only trading against the retail. I don't know where that mentality came from, but it's pretty widespread in trading that people think that they're like, we're on teams. But the funds are trading against each other probably more than they're trading against retail, and for that exact reason, right? That the liquidity, the volume, whatever you want to call it, is much greater on the fund side, the smart money side, than the retail side. So when I talk about like hunting and sweeping and all that other stuff, I'm not just talking about retail being hunted and swept. It's just the market. The market is it as a whole. We're not on teams, right? It's not us versus them versus us. People like conspiracy theories. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know if it's like a conspiracy theory. I don't really know what it is. It's probably just like ignorance. Like people don't really understand the ins and outs of like how these funds work. And I'm not saying I do either. I don't fully understand them. I don't have any fund experience. I have trading friends that have worked at funds and they've given me a little bit of insight. They can't reveal like the nitty gritty secrets and everything, but it's probably mostly just ignorance of like not understanding what they do. It's kind of like dark money. Retail is collateral damage. Yeah, probably a lot of the times you could say that. But yeah, I don't know this idea that like retail always loses and smart money always wins and every single fund is winning. Like I'm sure a lot of them are. That's kind of why they're a fund. That's kind of why they're in business. But it's not like they're winning every single trade. When I say the most important thing to learn are the levels, well, levels is doing a lot of work in that sentence, right? Um, saying levels is not really what you're saying. Um, because you can't just learn levels. It's not that simple. Every level is it a derivative of a system, like an overnight level, a order flow level, a volume profile level, a price action level. They're not just like it's not all one system that you can just read a book and learn. Every level is its own system, pretty much. That's the second time today that we've put in a lower low, but then instantly trapped it. We had a lower low at the low of day. Um, actually, no, sorry, it was a higher low. It was a lower low on Delta, so it was a bull div. Kind of the same thing, not exactly.
So right now, this trend is very stable. So you're basically just looking for some obvious stop to this trend, right? Do we see a lot of bearish delta coming in? Do we see a delta flip? Do we see the EMAs failing? Do we see the trails failing? Do we see bear divs? Do we see rollover tops? I mean, whatever, anything that I've taught. Do we see like single prints getting formed and then filled in? But until you see any of that stuff, the trend is still stable. You're still technically in an overnight fade. The bottom right there was the overnight low, damn near to the tick, which was also VWAP, lined up nicely. And as long as you're in the inside of the overnight and you're going against it, it is an overnight fade, right? So we're looking to go back to possibly around 705 to go back to that overnight high. And until we see a reason to go against that, that is the idea, right? Keep an eye on the prior low. Prior low at 78. But all right, guys, on that note, I'm going to call it there. I appreciate you guys being here. I will be streaming tomorrow, same time as always. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure to turn the notifications on YouTube. YouTube's been a little weird recently, or even if you're subscribed, it's not even telling you that I'm going live. So you guys know where to find me. I go live every Monday through Friday, 9:50 in the morning. If you guys are in Discord, I will be streaming in there for the rest of the day. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you guys want to support the channel, they did just extend the Apex sale to the end of the month. 80% off. Use code BREW, B-R-E-W, does support the channel. I appreciate you guys doing so. If you guys need access to the indicators with our Apex partnership, just send me an email. Let me know, hey, I signed up. Here's my most recent receipt. Can I get access to the indicators? Just remember to put your TradingView username. If you don't give me your username, I can't give you access, right? So send me your TradingView username. I'll get you guys access to the Momo, the OTS, and help you guys get funded. But all right, guys, that's all I got. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, everybody.